Yo, what is up, bro? So if you've been watching my videos lately, you know I've been crunching some numbers, trying to figure out the trigger rate of this perk and the percent damage, and then the trigger rate of the percent damage of the perk that does a damage percent trigger rate to burst damage to sustain. Today I'm just gonna let Grok tell me everything I need to know, starting with the very important question of, in the game, of the high morale trigger rate. I need to know what it actually is. Let's hit it. Alright, bro, so here we go. In World Conqueror 4, the trigger rate for high morale isn't explicitly stated in official game documentation, as CC Tech doesn't provide exact percentages for most mechanics. However, based on community testing and discussion, particularly from a detailed Reddit analysis, do we trust it? The base probability, or I mean, it's Reddit. Probability of units gaining high morale after defeating an enemy unit is approximately 30% without any modifiers. This was determined through controlled tests with sample size of 100 battles. Hey, I'm going to trust Reddit because I'm not going to attack 100 times. Using a general like Guderian, where the morale trigger was considered independent of other skills or equipment. When the inspiration skill is equipped on a general, it adds an additional chance to trigger high morale after an attack. Yeah, let's remember, yeah, because inspiration, 30% chance to trigger high morale anytime after an attack, whereas obviously the high morale itself, you got to defeat a unit or have some event trigger or shit like that. The same Reddit analysis suggests that inspiration also has a roughly 30% chance to trigger independently, but because high morale from inspiration and the base mechanic cannot stack, the combined probability is calculated using the formula for the union of two independent events. P high morale equals P base plus P inspiration minus P base inspiration. 0.3 plus 0.3 minus the 0.3 times the 0.3 equals the 0.3 plus the 0.3 equals minus 0.9 equals 51%. So with inspiration, the skill has a chance of triggering high morale after defeating an enemy unit is approximately 51%. So we have it there, 51% chance of high morale triggering after defeating an enemy if you have inspiration on as well. And if you don't defeat the enemy, then it defaults to the 30% probability with the inspiration triggering the high percent on the 30% of the general. Inspiration. Nailed it. All right, we got it now. We understand that. Let's move on. Next question up. What do we got for Grok? Just for curiosity, because I've always said it. Does World Conqueror 4 have hidden game mechanics? Yes. World Conqueror 4 has several hidden or undocumented game mechanics that are not explicitly explained in the game's tutorial or menu. These mechanics have been identified through player experimentation, community discussions, Reddit, EasyTech fan community, and testing. Below is a concise overview of hidden mechanics relevant to the game, focusing on those not immediately obvious to players. Hidden trigger rates, as mentioned previously, the exact probability of triggering high morale, 30%-ish, base chance 51% with inspiration, is not documented in the game. The game doesn't clarify that high morale is tied to random number generations or a specific condition like defeating enemies or capturing key objectives. Morale reduction, blah blah blah, general stats and scaling. This is what I've been telling you guys. I swear, the same perk on two generals, and it might be the only perk on them, seems to behave differently. Hidden stack caps. Generals have hidden stat caps for attributes like health, attack, and defense, which vary by unit type. Infantry, tanks. For example, upgrading a general's stats beyond a certain point may yield diminishing returns, but the game doesn't display these limits. General synergies. Certain generals have unlisted synergies with specific units or skills. For instance, the heroic charge skill pattern, Guderian in specific versions, boosts armored units with high morale, but the exact damage increase up to 50% and damage reduction 20% are not fully detailed in game. Training bonuses. Some trained generals version pattern. Trained versions have unique abilities like enhanced morale effect, but these are only discoverable through gameplay or community guides. And yeah, any of these other ones we care about? I don't really care about the AI. Resource and economic mechanics. In conquest mode, resources, income, industry, energy still scale with the number of cities and the levels, but the exact formula, base income plus city bonus, is not shown. Players must deduce. I mean, that's not a very important one either. Yeah, let's skip that one as well. Combat mechanics, damage calculations. The game uses a hidden formula for damage calculations, factoring in the unit type, terrain, morale, general skills, and the technology levels. For example, terrain bonuses. Yeah, that's, yeah, basically, I wish they just would publish something, right? About a breakdown of all this shit. I just wish there was a breakdown. So what does more damage, artillery leader or accuracy? So this is kind of what I warned you about. Sometimes Graco gets shit switched up. So it has artillery leader with accuracy's perks and accuracy with the critical chance. All right. So anyways, clearing that up. Accuracy. Increase the base attack power of artillery units in the general's command by a fixed percentage. Community estimates, okay, Reddit, Easy Tech Fan Club community, suggest this boost is approximately 15 to 30%, though the exact values are undocumented by Easy Tech. I mean, they list the accuracy maxed out. What's undocumented? I mean, okay, again, Easy Tech might be off a little bit. Okay, whatever. Regardless, it states it may, hopefully it's right. Anyways, provides a consistent damage increase for attacks made by artillery units applied uniformly across all hits. That's what I like to see. Scales additively with other buffs like high morale plus 25% damage, terrain bonus, or technology upgrades. And of course, we got artillery leader grants artillery unit chance to land a critical hit. Increases damage for those hits. The critical hit chance is estimated at between 20 to 30% with critical hits dealing 1.5 to 2 times normal damage based on community testing, as Easy Tech does not publish exact figures. That critical hit chance is off because maxed out artillery leader is 40%. And where does it come up with the 0.5 to 2 times? All right, let's clarify this. Artillery leader perk states it triggers at 40%. Are you saying it shows it only triggers at 30%? Thank you for catching this discrepancy. I apologize for any confusion in my previous response. Let's clarify. Artillery leader perk, critical hit trigger rate in World Conqueror 4, addressing your concerns about the stated 40% trigger rate versus 30% mentioned in earlier response, and ensuring accuracy with respect to damage comparisons between artillery leader and accuracy. Yes, that is what we want. With accuracy's confirmed 30% damage boost at level 5. Yes, that is confirmed. I'll use community insight from sources like World Conqueror 4 Wiki and Reddit, incorporating the confirmed high morale duration of 3 rounds. 3 rounds? Yeah, the round... Okay, yeah, the round it triggers in, plus the other 2 rounds. Right? 25%. Alright, and explain the critical hit trigger rate for artillery based on available data. Alright, so game mechanics stated rate. According to World Conqueror 4 Wiki, in-game description, artillery leader at level 5 grants a 40% chance to trigger a fatal blow critical hit for artillery units, with the chance ranging from 8% to 40% across levels 1 through 5. With the Empire Medal, this accuracy is increased to 12 to 60% at level 5. Let me double check that. Yes, it's 60% chance with the Empire Medal. The 40% base chance at level 5 is the standard value for triggering a critical hit, which deals a 1.5 times to 2 times damage multiplier 2 times with level 5 ribbon. I was kind of wondering about that. So it's 1.5 base, 2 times with the damage multiplier of the red ribbon. Isn't there some generals with a damage increase perk as well to crit hits? Confusion with 30%. My earlier mention of 30% trigger rate was incorrect and likely stemmed from conflating the artillery leader critical hit chance with the base morale trigger chance. Okay, we don't care about that. Okay, now it seems like it got it now. It got it figured out, right? We have it figured out. Community testing. Consistency aligns with the 40% critical hit chance at level 5 artillery with no evidence suggesting it's capped at 30%. Some players report higher effective rates, up to 105% with generals like Kluge using critical attack and the red ribbon. Yeah, well, of course, that's with all that shit added up. Okay. Okay, so here's what we want. Corrected damage comparison, artillery leader versus accuracy. To address your questions about damage output and correct the trigger rate error, I'll recalculate the damage for artillery leader using the confirmed 40% critical hit chance at level 5 or 60% with Empire Metal and compare it to accuracy 30% damage boost at level 5. I'll use a level 9 heavy artillery with a base attack of 88, community average, and account for high morale for 3 rounds. Also consider the 1.5 to 2 times critical hit multiplier range as discussed previously to provide a comprehensive comparison. Alright, well this should be interesting. Base damage, okay, accuracy 30% at level 5. So you got the base damage of 88 and the 30%, you get 114. With high morale, that is going to be 143 damage. With the Sun Metal, 130, but with the Sun Metal and high morale, 162. You know what it doesn't account for? It doesn't account for inspiration. The 15% bonus with inspiration. Alright, can you also include the 15% damage boost that inspiration gives when high morale triggers? Alright, so, yeah, that's saying, yeah, clarifying, we just want to go to the damage. Okay, so damage. Base damage, high morale plus 25%, 3 rounds, high morale with inspiration, 40%, 25 plus the 15. Metal effect, Sun Metal for accuracy, Empire Metal for artillery leader, critical hit, multiplier 1.5 to 2 for artillery leader. Okay, accuracy, 30% at level 5, base damage comes out at 114. With high morale, 143. High morale plus inspiration, 160. With the Sun Metal, you're looking at 182 damage. Characteristics, consistent. Non-RNG damage, I love that. I love the non-RNG damage. Ideal for sustained battles or high defense targets. Titan cities, alright. Artillery leader, 40% crit chance at level 5. So the 1.5 times multiplier, no ribbon. Normal hit, 88 damage. Critical hit, 88 plus the 1.5 equals 132. So average 40% crit chance. So you got the, okay, it's taking into effect just the normal damage plus the 40% on the crit chance. So 105 damage per hit. High morale, you're going to get that boosted up to 132. High morale plus inspiration, you're going to get that boosted up to 147. You know what it's missing? I just browsed through this real quick because I thought it was missing it. It's missing the 50% added damage to the critical attack with the artillery honor ribbon. So I wanted to put that in. And listen, bros, we're not even going to attempt to start including some generals specific like titles and shit. That's too much. We're just going generally this perk versus this perk, right? That's all. No like, oh well, Guderian adds another part of a critical attack chance that puts it over 100. Yeah, we're not worried about that. But I am going to have to remind Grok of the other part of the perk, or the other part of the ribbon. I think you forgot that the red ribbon, while giving 30% chance to trigger a critical attack, also increases damage of the critical attack by 50%. Alright, Grok admits it had it wrong. Okay, clarifying red ribbon of 8. effect. Increase critical hit chance by 30%. Artillery leader 40% at level 5 becomes 40% plus 30% equals 70%. With the Empire medal, 60% plus 30% equals 90%. Boost critical hit damage plus 50%, meaning the critical hit multiplier is increased by 1.5. The base of 1.5 multiplier becomes 1.5 times 1.5 equals 2.25. A 2 times multiplier becomes 3 times. Alright, so let's just go to the damage. All the way to artillery leader. Oh my god. Let's just go to the last one. That's no ribbon, the lower end. That's no ribbon, the upper end. 2.25 with ribbon, 70% critical hit rate. That's okay. This is with the 50%. All right, so 3 times multiplier with red ribbon plus maxed out perks. Kluga as the example. Normal hit of 88 damage. Got it. Clear. It's simple, concise. Critical hit 88 times 3, which is the multiplier now with the added 50% damage possible, or I mean not possible, just 50% added to the crit hit, equals a 264 damage output. Oh my god. Alright, so the average is 70% chance, and you factor that in, and you're basically getting a 211 damage per hit. But however, with high morale at 25%, you're going to be getting 264 damage per hit. However, with high morale plus inspiration, you're going to be getting a 295. However, with Empire Medal, you're getting 340, basically 5 damage per hit. Damn. All right, now shit's starting to make sense. We had to fine-tune Grok, just like I told you. Sometimes you have to give it some information. It might just be missing a little bit. I think we got it all. Man, I hope we got it all. I hope I didn't miss something. Because if we did, I'm not doing this again. Alright, so let's get the comparison. So I'll slow scroll this if you want to pause it and read that. I want to get down to, yeah, this. Without red ribbon, artillery leader only outperforms accuracy with a 2 times multiplier. Alright, the morale inspiration or the Empire medal. With red ribbon, artillery leader dominates. Absolutely dominates. 231 to 344 versus 182, especially with inspiration and Empire medal 90% crit chance. So which does more damage? Artillery leader, high damage with the red ribbon. Especially with inspiration, Empire competitive without the red ribbon at the 2 times multiplier. So basically what I'm getting from this is if you got one of your higher artillery generals, the ones that you're going to be giving the medals and your best ribbons to, you would definitely want artillery leader on. Those that are the mid-pack, maybe, or even lower, that don't have very good ribbons and won't have a medal, you would probably put accuracy on. I mean, that's what I'm seeing, right? Now, do I gotta do this all over again with armored assault and a panzer leader? Oh, hold on, I just mentioned panzer leader right here. If you need a comparison for Panzer Leader versus Armored Assault, similar mechanic. Hold on, we'll have to make sure it gets this right. Hold on, before we even get started, let me make sure it has everything included before I even ask it the question. Armored Assault unit and a critical attack rate, and the plus the 30% and the critical attack damage plus the 50%. And then you got the cross medal and the Panzer Leader and the 50%, and then you got the hero medal and the Armored Assault and the 60%. I just don't want to give it to me. All right, so we're gonna have to read through this to make sure it's actually calculating everything correctly. Thank you for requesting a comparison between a Panzer Leader and Armored Assault for armored units in World Conqueror for All. I'll provide a detailed damage comparison incorporating the mechanics you've clarified. Panzer Leader has a 40% chance at level 5. Yes, it does. 60% with the cross medal. You got it, brother. 70% with the ribbon, 90% with both. Perfect, right? You nailed it? Yes, everything looks good up to that point. Red ribbon increases critical hit chance by 30% and critical hit damage by 50. Yes, you included it this time. 1.5 times multiplier becomes a 2.25 times multiplier. 2 times becomes 3 times. Inspiration adds a 15% damage boost with high morale. Triggers total 40. Oh my god, 40%. Let me breathe here. 40% with morale, 25% lasting 3 rounds, and Armored Assault grants a 30% damage boost at level 5, 48% with the hero medal. I'll use the level 9 M26 Pershing with a base attack of 106. Alright, skill description, Armored Assault. Increases base damage of armored by 6 to 30%, 48% with the hero medal at level 5, confirmed as 30% without the medal. Okay, I believe you, and this damage, I know RNG, I love that. There's also this. Let's get to the damage calculations. Alright, so, level 9 M26 Pershing, base attack of 106. High morale, 25%, 3 rounds. High morale plus inspiration, 40%. Medal effects, hero medal for Armored Assault, cross medal plus red ribbon for Panzer Leader. Critical hit multipliers, 1.5 to 2 without red ribbons, 2.25 to 3 with red ribbons. Armored Assault, 30% at level 5. Base damage, 106. Times the 30%, we're getting 137.8 damage per hit. High morale plus the 25, you're getting 172. High morale plus inspiration, you're getting 192. With hero medal, you're ending up at 219. Alright, Panzer Leader, hit me with it. 1.5 multiplier, no ribbon, low end. Normal hit 1.6, 1.5, low end 159 damage. Average with the 40% crit comes out to be 127 per hit. With the high morale, you're getting 159. High morale with inspiration, you're getting 178. With the cross medal, you're getting 192. Alright, 2 times multiplier, no ribbon, upper end. Let's just go to the max with the 3 times. Okay, we got the 3 times multiplier with red ribbons plus max perks. Alright, normal hit, 106. Critical hit with the times 3 multiplier is 318. Averaging that out with the 70% crit hit chance, you get 254 per hit. High morale, 318. High morale plus inspiration, 356. With cross medal, 415. 415. Damn. Versus 219. Again, it's kind of like, hold on, just let's just do the we'll even do the upper end. That's 237, 219. That's with no ribbon, upper end. With the lower end, the assault would be better. Higher end. So I'm looking through here. I'm looking at like the base damage, so just what you're getting, and none of the other perks, or like no ribbons, no medals, just the base damage of this at 137 versus the base damage of Panzer Leader 127. So it's kind of it kind of shows my testing that I had done on both Artillery Leader, accuracy, a Panzer Leader, and Armored Assault, where bare bones, the Armored Assault and the accuracy does more damage. Once you start adding some ribbons and some medals, even if you start adding the same shit to Armored Assault and accuracy, the Panzer Leader and the Artillery Leader take off. So again, high level, mid level, Panzer Leader and Artillery Leader. low level, just base, if you're just, you know, they're just like, you know what I mean. Like, they're not getting the best ribbons, they're not getting any medals, then you'd use the accuracy and you would use the armored assault. If you have to choose, right? There's actually not, I'll give it to Easy Tech, there's actually not too many times where you have to choose between the two. Usually you can fit them both in there. So the quantitative edge, without red ribbon, Panzer Leader outperforms armored assault at 2 times multiplier. Well, what about it doesn't at the 1.5 multiplier? Bare bones it doesn't. With the red ribbon, obviously, Panzer Leader absolutely dominates. Especially with the inspiration and the cross metal. Jesus, it's not even close. Which does more damage? Panzer Leader. Higher average damage with red ribbon, obviously. Especially with inspiration. And the cross metal. Competitive without the red ribbon at a 2 times multiplier. But weaker. Oh yeah, that's what I just said. Congrats to me. Give myself a round of applause. But weaker at the 1.5 times multiplier. So yeah, I think I just explained it the best I could. But based on what I'm reading. That means... Hold on, that means something to me. One sec. Okay, this is my issue. Remember last night on the goal? Last night, the last video. Where I changed out artillery leader for inspiration. Oh my, we're gonna have to feed it more because we gotta know. Like it's so specific to a general, because how often does this happen? All right, so my question is, so what if my general has accuracy perk fixed and I have to choose between inspiration and artillery leader? Which one should I choose to get the most damage? So basically this is the information we've already fed it, that we've kind of, you know, proved to have been relatively right, plus the forums and the Reddits. Let's go down here to the actual comparison damage calculations. Base damage, high morale plus inspiration. Alright, accuracy plus inspiration. Base accuracy 30%, 114 damage with the sun metal, 130, high morale plus inspiration, 160. Sun metal, high morale and inspiration is 182. Which would break down to averaging 156. Okay, so accuracy plus artillery leader. The 1.5 ribbon boost, and the 2, and then there's a 2.2 and the 3. With the Empire Medal and all the ribbons, it's 392. Total average. I mean, it's still based average, morale average. Come, let's get down to, yeah, what does more damage? Our accuracy plus artillery leader. Higher average damage in most scenarios, especially with the 2 times multiplier. So again, with the 1.5, you know what this means. Dominates with the Empire Medal and red ribbon, obviously. Plus inspiration, more consistent, leveraging 51% morale trigger chance for frequent 40% damage boosts. Outperforms artillery leader only with the 1.5 multiplier. Yes, I have been vindicated. It's always that way, right? Bare bones, just bare bones. You're looking at the accuracy. It's kind of what we were already thinking, I'm sure. So here's the thing. With this, even without the medals, now I'm thinking it's gotta be artillery leader. With the medals, it's a no-brainer. But without just the red, I mean, I guess do I have to ask Grok again? What if it does what? No medals? Hold on, I think it already, let's look again. Alright, so I had to ask it a couple times because I said no medals and it left out the red ribbons. So now I said red ribbons, just not the medals. It got that right. No sun medal. and no Empire Medal. We got that. We're not going to read through all the calculations. We're just going to go down to the outcome. What does more damage? Accuracy plus artillery leader with red ribbon. Higher average damage. So you got the higher average damage of 214 with a 2.25 multiplier, or 295 with the 3 times multiplier, versus the 137 provided by inspiration. So yeah, if you got the ribbons, even without the medals, you obviously got to go for... I mean, this is going to be true across, I think, maybe with slight deviations with the Panzer Leader versus the Armored Assault as well. I think we've got our answer, though. So, like, on De Gaulle, because I got the maxed out ribbon, inspiration is not the choice. We would want Artillery Leader, how I thought in the beginning. Without? Yeah. I guess now there's another question. Inferior victory versus inspiration, right? I think it's gonna be inferior victory, and at least we don't have to ask across the board, like for tank generals and artillery generals. Obviously, this is gonna be the same for, well, everything, actually. I guess I'll ask it. Let's see if it has the data for inferior victory correct. Let's see here. Inspiration, 15% damage boost when high morale triggers. Total 40% with morale 25% lasting 3 rounds. 51% trigger chance. Inferior victory. Maximize damage for artillery units. You specified... I mean, I guess it comes down to just a straight inferior victory. Percent chance trigger 51%, and that 40% damage versus just a straight all the time 20% for inferior victory. So which does more damage? Accuracy plus inferior victory with red ribbons. Higher average damage 185 with the 2.25 multiplier, 245 with the 3 times multiplier versus 137 damage. Accuracy plus inspiration, huh? Just inferior. I wonder if it does what it does without the red ribbons. Because now we're getting down in the very low generals, which I guess it really doesn't matter at that point because you're not going to be using them. You're going to be using all your best generals. So I guess this is pretty much how you would roll. But we'll check. We'll check anyways. So is inferior victory still better with no red ribbons? Plus inspiration now this time. Higher average damage at 1.5 multiplier. 137 versus 135. Oh, it's barely. And competitive at 2 times. 137 versus 147. Plus inferior victory, slightly higher damage at the 2 times multiplier, but lower at the 1.5 multiplier. I mean, I'm just gonna have to feed in the whole damn build of the general. Alright, like, but guys, we're just gonna start using Grog. You gotta make sure it has the right numbers. Okay, so what if De Gaulle, alright, so we have the accuracy, and we have the artillery leader. Then, choosing between inferior victory and inspiration, what does that do? What does more damage? Accuracy plus artillery leader plus inferior victory with the red ribbons. Higher average damage 253 to 308 base to 332 with high morale versus 258 to 330. Must be the high morale mark. With inspiration. Oh, it's within like single digits though. It's so close. It's so damn close. Accuracy plus artillery plus inspiration. More consistent with the 51% morale trigger chance. So competitive at 3 times multiplier and slightly better 2.25 multiplier in the base. It's looking like you can get the maximum amount of damage with inferior victory. However, so it looks like inferior victory has the highest ceiling for damage. However, the inspiration will generally give you more damage overall. Recommendation: choose inferior victory. Yeah, that's kind of what it was looking like, huh? I'm gonna ask it to calculate the damage over 100 hits. Alright, so again, it's doing it without the Sun Medal or Empire Medal, because we were asking specifically for De Gaulle since he has neither. Do I have to? I mean, I just have to ask. I'm done asking. I don't care if you know what. Obviously, it's just whatever. Okay, so let's just go down here. Damage difference over 100 attacks. Well, give me the data. So here it is. Damage over 100 attacks. Inspiration, inferior victory. Got over 100 attacks. It is still close. At the 2.25 multiplier, inspiration deals 461 more damage. At the 3 times multiplier, inferior victory deals 148 more damage over 100 attacks. My brain is about to explode. I mean, what about I'm losing my shit here, guys. What about with the Sun Medal? What would that do with the Sun Medal? The inspiration and the 2.2 and the 2.5 and the 3 and the 4 and the 5 and then the damage and then the multiplier and then the boost and then the accuracy. Oh my god, and then the artillery there and then the inferior victory. But what about that? What about inspiration with the inferior victory in the medals? I mean, what do we got to do with the Sun Medals and the Empire Medals? I'm losing my mind here, people. I'm losing my shit. Alright, well, with the Sun Medal and the Empire Medal included, results inspiration deals 2,695 more damage over 100 attacks with the 2.25 times multiplier. With the 3 times multiplier, inspiration deals 3,300 more damage over 100 attacks. I don't even know what I don't even know what I did at the first of this video. What did I do? What did I eat today? Have I drank yet? What day is it? Where am I? Am I in a matrix right now? I don't even. I should have stopped with the first 2 questions. I got it. It was good. But now, you know, what about the Sun Medal? What about with the Empire Medal? What about with the 2.25 multiplier? What about the 3 times multiplier? Well, what about the inferior victory? What about inspiration? What about artillery leader? What about if you had accuracy on top of the artillery leader, on top of the inferior victory, on top of the with the medals, with the ribbons? What about a level 5 ribbon versus level 1 ribbon? What about if it's not maxed? What about if your artillery leader is at level 4? Well, should we just always? Well, obviously you're always going to calculate it with if it's a level 5. So what do you do with the inspiration and the accuracy and the inspiration with the Sun Medal and the Empire Medal and with the ribbons? And then what about the titles? Then you got what about the titles? Bros, I've become dark, Bruchminati. Don't think that I didn't ask Grok just to build me the best De Gaulle general, or best any general for that matter. All I said was you had all the ribbons available to you, you have all the medals available to you. First, it didn't even know De Gaulle's new build. I had to give it De Gaulle's new build. It told me to use tank ribbons. It listed medals that don't even exist. It gave me the stupidest build. It gave, like, plane fighting a % damage that was insane. It's just, for now, it's just better to understand the perks. That, you know, Grok gives you a good understanding of the perks if you make sure it has the right data. And then just place them your damn self, because you sure don't want to follow the build that I got. It was stupid.